The bike fits in this bag, just like that. Bike nugget. You know, everything's apart. My brakes are just off the bike. Everything super condensed down. 3D printed my own cable ports here. They allow me to zip tie my brake hose to the outside of the frame. Special front roll that carries the whole bike on the plane. Put it on the front of your bike and ride away from the airport.
Just under a year ago, I joined Fanatik athlete Eric Olsen on a pretty wild trip of the Enduro World Series, now the EDR. That's right.
UCI Mountain Bike World Series, EDR, which doesn't stand for anything, it just means Enduro.
Just
so
under a year.
Right.
Yeah. Just under a year ago, I joined Fanatik athlete Eric Olsen on a Tour de EWS. You may have read about it, you may have seen something about it on social media, but he's doing it again. This time he's off to Tasmania. He's got a bit of a new setup this year, and he's gonna give us a quick rundown of what he's taking, how he set it all up, and what it's gonna be all about.
Should I go for the wheelie? Oh God. Oh my God, it feels not optimal for that. I feel like the wheelie shot Matthew did, he had towels in his bags or something. A big part of this whole bike bag system is this kind of idea that I had for a bag that your bike can fly in, but also converts into a bike packing bag. And so Loam Equipment here has made this special front roll that carries the whole bike on the plane. So this piece here comes off the front rack, unrolls here. There's my dry bag that has my clothing. And then here is the actual bike travel case. Basically, it's a big bag, but it's a really nicely built big bag. This is version 2. We had one last year that worked great. We've just added a bit more reinforcement and then added kind of a better carrying harness for the people who are luggage handling to easily pick up the case. My bike's in your bag. I'm pretty excited about it. It's this balance between building something that's light and foldable for the bike packing part, but then tough enough for being on an airplane and getting thrown around by baggage handlers.
Yeah, and then you can tighten it down.
That's already a lot better. Like it just balanced, you know?
Yeah.
Like last year, both Dan and I's bikes got stuck in Paris on the way back. And so they were like 2 weeks later than us in getting back to Bellingham. My bike luckily completely was fine. The bag had some holes in it. Like they really went hard at throwing our bikes around. Dan's bike looked like it had been run over and the rear triangle was actually cracked in the cardboard box.
Ooh, all right, that's insane. The swing arm is like fully cracked.
It seems like this system worked well and we just added a little bit more in reinforcement. These pockets allow the clothes to be added padding on all 4 corners. Flap folds over the top. You could even add cardboard pieces if you wanted into those internal pockets to add some structure, but I don't have that in there right now. It's easier to find just random pieces of cardboard than a whole bike box. You don't need those. You can also just use your clothing and things. The bike fits in this bag, just like that. Between 50 and 70 pounds, flies as not even oversized luggage. It's pretty sweet. It's not like an EVOC case where you have a roller and you can do that. That's because you want to be able to put it on the front of your bike and ride away from the airport. It takes obviously more work to take the bike apart and put it together in the airport. It's kind of the compromise that you're making, but it works. It's a super light way to carry your bike on an airplane. My bike comes fully apart, so the fork comes off, the rear triangle comes off. You know, everything's apart. My brakes are just off the bike. My stem and my handlebars, everything will just be super condensed down. Bike nugget, 3D printed my own cable ports here. They allow me to zip tie my brake hose to the outside of the frame. I can take the whole brake off really easily. You can just put it together in the airport, which is kind of fun, and ride away from the airport instead of having to deal with traditional like bike hard shell case or like an EVOC soft shell. You could use a cardboard box, but then there's the dilemma of, okay, you fly in, you can toss the cardboard box, which is what Dan did last year. You have to find a bike shop and hope that they have a cardboard box and then also deal with the language barrier potentially, which Dan did in Italy. He pulled it off, that was great. But then we had to figure out how to get a bike box to the airport, which is like a whole nother step. This way you could ride your bike to the airport when you're leaving where you've been touring, disassemble your bike, put it in the bag again, and fly out. So another perk of this system that I didn't really anticipate but ended up being really nice last year was that I can take this off and, you know, have my clothes out camping, but then I can kind of just throw like my helmets and shoes and whatever inside this as a big tarp. And even, you know, if things got really dire, I could probably fit in this if things were really bad, but like I could put it over my sleeping bag, over my feet even. But yeah, I mainly used it as just kind of a, you know, a tent for my stuff as I was bivvying last year. Now let's get into what I'm carrying. Back here I've got the camping side of things. So first, I've got an OR helium bivvy, super small, has a little pole. So it feels like you're in a little tent. Climate ultralight sleeping pad that has a built-in pillow. That was really nice. And then I've got stuffed in here an old clapped out 20-degree bag that I've used a lot and works well enough. But honestly, it's nice to not have something that you're worried about getting a little bit dirty. I just have a bunch of older stuff that I've gotten from my parents and things like that. Like my dad did a bunch of, you know, trips in this, like kayak trips and stuff. And what do I have in here? I have a few clothes. I've got like a casual REI set of pants for when I'm trying to look spiffy. I've got my favorite Wild Styles Jank tie-dye jersey. And then I've got my race face knee pads, my other lighter race face knee pads, and those come in handy also to pad the bike when it's flying. And then I've got a really warm base layer there, a Fox vest that came from Pink Bike Academy. I've got my favorite Goodwill olivine thing that I painted on. It's part of my casual outfit. Same thing I wore last year in Europe. And then I've got my my Fred Meyer puffy coat. Is that looking good? Is that looking aesthetic for you? And then I've got my it's a Pearl Izumi rain jacket that I won at a raffle at a race or as a prize or something. So that's pretty nice. All my gear is stuff that I've used over the years, and it's not like I have the fanciest stuff, but it works well. And then that's everything. So I'm working with Aero racks this year, which is a New Zealand-based company. So I reached out to them. They were kind enough to help me out with this rack system. The Aero Spider Rack is what it's called. It's super easy to attach. So if you remember last year, and a lot of bike packing systems are designed around hanging a bag off of your seat, but that is tricky because if you use your dropper post or any sort of mountain biking situation, it just squishes your bag into your tire and it just doesn't work. And also suspension and everything, it just wasn't as dialed as I was wanting. And then they make a system where it just attaches to your rear triangle, so it's totally independent from your seat post. So I can use my dropper post. It's a lot more dialed than last year. They've got these kind of cool cradles. It's just a really handy system, easy to take on and off, works on multiple bikes, so I'll be able to keep using it. I can move these cradles anywhere on the rack. So there's potential that I'll even add a third one on top. I could have 3 bags. I'm gonna volet strap my helmet on the top. It's a super handy system. Being able to take everything off the bike to do the racing is super important. Little toe peak ratchet tool, which is super handy. Straps come undone and you just pull the whole thing off and you're ready to go. In terms of bike packing bags, it's way easier and it's just super simple to understand. And then it fits easily on different types of bikes, which is cool. I've got the nicest set of bibs that I own, which is a USA Cycling ASOS bibs that I was given. My favorite safety shirt for riding and not getting hit by a car, my Cold Turkey Run 2017 shirt. And then I've got my Goodwill piece that's like a thermal layer with some rose gold Jank logos. Patagonia socks that Gwen gave me for Christmas. Race face tech layer that Dan and I both rocked last year that also has Jank printed on it. Got some Darn Tough socks, some more Darn Tough socks. Those were my only 2 socks in Europe last year. And then I've got 3 pairs of gloves, 2 of which are pretty standard. And then I've got these like a little bit more padded, a little bit warmer Enduro gloves. Waterproof race face shorts, a set of race face normal shorts, and another pair of race face, normal mountain bike shorts. So that's all the clothes. Let's talk about pedals. I can talk about pedals all day. So last year, I had a little bit of knee pain and back pain. The back pain was from carrying an extra set of wheels and a whole laptop on my back. That's out, not doing that. I also had a bit of knee pain because my shoes and my pedals were kind of worn out before I even left. So this year, I'm actually switching. I've been trying Crank Brothers pedals, mallet ease in the long spindle, which seems to make my knees feel a lot better over a long day. And then also, like once they wear out, Shimano pedals, kind of your feet start to tip out as that outer face wears down. And these don't have that issue. I'm stoked on also how they feel when I'm riding in a race, which is like more like a flat pedal. I've been riding back and forth with flat pedals a little bit more the past couple years and kind of wanted that feel in my clip pedals, and Crank Brothers are really good for that. In the Camelback, I've got chain lube. I've got this pump that Mike Casimir is loaning me. What is it? Toe Peak Mountain 2-stage that he just reviewed. It's a shock pump, a digital gauge, and a tire pump all in one. It seems cool, seems to work. It's got a little bit more volume than my one-up pump, and it saves me some space not carrying a shock pump and a tire pump. In the Camelback, got some dust, got some zip ties, one-up little quick link tool, got a Leatherman, tire levers, super glue, patch kit, electrical tape, spare tube, spare brake lever, bunch of tire plugs, spare star ratchet, even though I don't have a DT hub anymore, space blanket, if things get really weird. That's kind of just all the things that I normally carry in my Camelback for racing too. I've got the dad cam that always lives in here. And then on this side, multi-tools. That one just broke, and then this one was just returned to me. That's why I have two AirPods that I found on the side of the road on my way back from Pink Bike Academy. And then first aid kit. I've got the Mend It kit that I just started working with them. They're out of Cedrowoli, which is near Bellingham, and it's got a tourniquet, a wrist splint, finger splint, and then a bunch of basic first aid supplies, you know, for wrapping and dressing if things get really weird. I hope not. And I've got up here in the feed bag, I've got a Lezyne headlight. I'll probably bring two Lezyne headlights. I've got the first camera. This is a Panasonic GX85 with a 14-42 power zoom lens. It's got a dad cam vibe to it. I can basically just whip it out as I'm riding, boom. I don't normally have the lens cap on, start recording. I'll also have a GoPro mounted to my handlebars. Even easier to start recording if something's going on. On the helmet that'll live back here, currently have my tail light. This is a Smith mainline. On this side, I've got my Nalgene. Going to the frame bags, I'm also working again with Loam Equipment. They did the custom bag last year. Last year, the bags were custom made for the Forbidden frame. The problem was, for me as a bike racer that switches sponsors, like, oh, I can't use that bag anymore. And that just didn't sit right with me. I was like, can we make a bag that fits on multiple bikes? And so this fits perfectly on my Rayon frame, but also works as a half frame bag on a cross bike or any sort of hardtail. They did a sweet lightning bolt graphic, and then they also featured an ant here for good luck, because there's the most poisonous species of ant in Tasmania. We were just talking about that, and they thought that was funny, and so they were gonna cover the whole thing in ants. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. And they're like, wait, never mind, we're gonna do lightning bolts, and then we're gonna have one ant getting hit by a lightning bolt. They'll do whatever you want. They can make literally anything. They also made this smaller frame bag that will live on my bike all the time. Like, it's sweet for racing. It's kind of similar even to like an Ibis pork chop bag. A little bit of a toolkit, toe peak, little multi-ratchet thing here, really handy. Two useful tools. I've got a bottom bracket tool, but it also works on the center lock rotors. My friend Kevin machined this down so that it fits on there really nicely. That was forged and it didn't have a good sharp edge to it, which doesn't matter on a bottom bracket, but it does matter on center lock rotors. An Ipex works really well for all sorts of things. This is really handy and light. does the trick. Some spare brake pads, also some spare lock rings for the center lock rotors. Now in this bag, I've got a bug net, a buff, my handy dandy Smith sunglasses that I wore for the entire trip last year and I'll wear again. What are they? The lead out, my headlamp. I'm bringing no laptop, no big backpack. I've got my iPhone 12 mini, an Apple Watch Ultra. So this is actually super nice because it can record all my rides, and then also I can have navigation on my wrist. And when you're somewhere you've never been, you can just look at it instead of having to pull your phone out, which is really nice. Yeah, last year I was using the phone for navigation a lot, which taking it out and holding it is super inconvenient. Then I was using a headphone, but then sometimes the names of the streets didn't make sense to me, and that's confusing. If my phone dies, this thing lasts like 2 days on battery, and I can text and call and do navigation, and extra cords, GoPro mounts, batteries for the headlamp. I'm gonna be doing all of my basic editing through my phone. I've just got an adapter to put the SD card right to my phone, edit that way. Got the charger for the GX85, extra batteries there, baby tripod thing, that's everything there. And then on the other side, the battery bank, insurance card, passport. I think that is the full rundown. What am I forgetting? I think that's everything. So next step is to take this whole thing apart and put it in that bag and get ready to fly, and hope I didn't forget anything super crucial. I forgot my damn brakes. Thanks for checking out my bike today. If you have any questions, shoot me a message. My DMs are always open, or leave a comment on this video. As always, thanks to Fanatik Bike Co. for supporting me, for building these wheels, providing so many of these components here in Bellingham, but a worldwide bike shop. You can order parts and have them shipped